The large transport ship slowed as it approached the massive space station. The Galactic Defense Force Academy floated in orbit around the blue-green planet Nexus, its gleaming metal structures catching the light of the nearby sun. Inside the transport, Jack Riley looked out the window with wide eyes. After 6 months of space travel from Earth, he had finally arrived at his destination. Jack was among the first 20 humans ever admitted to the Academy. Earth had only joined the Galactic Confederation 2 years ago, and many alien species still viewed humans with curiosity or doubt. At 22 years old, Jack was older than most new cadets. He had worked 3 jobs back in his small Ohio town to save money while studying for the Academy entrance exams. "All cadets prepare for docking procedures," announced a smooth voice over the speakers. "Welcome to your new home for the next 4 years." Jack gathered his few belongings. Unlike the alien cadets with their fancy tech and special gear, he traveled light, just the basics in a standard-issue duffel bag. What he lacked in equipment, he made up for in determination. Growing up without much had taught him to be resourceful. The ship docked with a gentle bump. Jack joined the line of new cadets, heading for the exit. Most were not human. He saw tall, thin aliens with blue skin, short, stocky ones with 4 arms, and even some that looked like walking plants. Each species had its own natural advantages. Some could see in the dark, others could lift 10 times their weight, and few could even read minds. Humans were new to the galactic community, and most aliens saw them as physically weak and technologically behind. "Move aside, soft skin," growled a deep voice. Jack turned to see a large alien with steel blue scales, pushing past the other cadets. The alien stood almost 7 feet tall with broad shoulders and powerful muscles visible beneath his uniform. 2 shorter aliens of the same species followed him. Jack recognized them as Draxians from his study of Confederation species. They were known for their strength, tough scales, and quick healing abilities. They were also known for their pride. The big Draxian stopped in front of Jack, looking down with yellow eyes. "A human? They really will let anyone in these days," he said with a laugh that showed sharp teeth. "I am Zorax, top graduate from the Draxian Military Academy. Remember the name, Soft Skin. You'll be hearing it a lot." Jack said nothing. He had dealt with bullies before. Responding only encouraged them. Instead, he stepped aside and let Zorax pass. The Draxians seemed disappointed by Jack's lack of reaction but moved on, shoving other smaller cadets out of his way. A 4-armed alien next to Jack whistled softly. "That's a Draxian for you. All muscle, no manners. I'm Kip, by the way." "Jack Riley," he replied, shaking one of Kip's 4 hands. "From Earth. Earth, I've heard about your planet. Is it true humans can't regrow limbs or breathe underwater? Or survive in space without suits?" Kip asked, his large round eyes blinking rapidly. "All true," Jack said with a small smile. "We're pretty basic compared to most species here." "Basic but interesting." "I've never met a human before," Kip said cheerfully. "Come on, we should get to orientation before all the good seats are taken." Jack followed Kip through the docking bay into a large hallway filled with cadets from dozens of worlds. Screens on the walls directed them to the main assembly hall. The space was massive, with high ceilings and rows of seats facing a central stage. Jack and Kip found seats near the middle, surrounded by a colorful mix of aliens, a tall, purple-skinned female alien sat down next to Jack. "Is this seat taken?" she asked in perfect English. "It's all yours," Jack replied. "I'm Melara, engineering track," she said. "Centauran, if you were wondering." "Jack, tactical operations from Earth." Melara's eyes widened slightly. "Earth? Interesting. You're the first human I've met. Your species caused quite a stir when you joined the Confederation." "We tend to do that," Jack said with a shrug. The lights dimmed, and a hologram appeared on stage. A stern-looking alien with gray skin and 4 eyes addressed the cadets, welcoming them to the academy and explaining the basic rules. Classes would start tomorrow. All cadets would take core courses together before splitting into specialized tracks. Physical training was mandatory for everyone. After the speech, The cadets were directed to their assigned living quarters. Jack was relieved to find he shared a room with Kip and two other non-humans who seemed friendly enough. His relief was short-lived when he discovered Zorax was just across the hall. "Lucky us," Kip muttered. "The Draxian bully is our neighbor." The first week of classes passed in a blur. Jack struggled with some subjects but excelled in tactical simulations and problem-solving exercises. His human perspective often led him to solutions the alien cadets hadn't considered. During one tactical class, the instructor presented a complex space battle scenario that had stumped many previous classes. "The key is to use the asteroid field to your advantage," Jack suggested when no one else offered a solution. "Split your forces, use the smaller ships as bait, and bring your main force around from behind." The instructor, a veteran of many space battles, looked impressed. An unconventional approach, Cadet Riley, but effective. Most species would avoid the risk of the asteroid field entirely. "Humans are used to working with limitations, sir," Jack explained. "We look for advantages where others might see only obstacles." After class, Jack noticed Zorax watching him with narrowed eyes. The Draxian had failed to solve the same problem, suggesting a direct assault that the instructor had dismissed as wasteful and predictable. "Got lucky, human?" Zorax asked, blocking Jack's path. "Or did you cheat somehow?" "Neither," Jack replied calmly. "Just a different perspective." Zorax leaned closer. "No human is going to show me up. I am the top combat cadet in this academy. You're nothing but a soft skin from a backward planet." "If you say so," Jack said, stepping around the larger alien. Zorax grabbed Jack's arm with a scaled hand. "This isn't over, human. Not even close." Jack pulled his arm free and walked away, feeling Zorax's glare on his back. He knew the Draxian's threat wasn't empty. Zorax had been at the academy for a year already, and had a reputation for putting lesser species in their place. That evening in the mess hall, Ilara and Kip warned Jack about Zorax's history. "He broke a Lurian cadet's arm last term for scoring higher than him in a test," Ilara said quietly. "The academy covered it up because his family has connections. And he's got friends in high places here," Kip added. "Be careful, Jack. Draxians don't forget what they see as insults to their pride." Jack nodded but wasn't too worried. He had faced tough situations before. What concerned him more was making it through the academy and proving humans belonged here among the stars. One bully, even a 7-foot alien bully with scales and super strength, wasn't going to stop him. What Jack didn't realize was how far Zorax would go to put the first human cadet in his place. 2 weeks passed at the academy, and Jack settled into a routine. Each morning began with physical training that left him sore and tired. Humans were not built like the other species. Most aliens could run faster, lift more, or endure longer than Jack. But he never complained or gave up, even when his muscles burned and his lungs ached. After physical training came classes in galactic law, alien languages, spacecraft operations, and combat tactics. Jack struggled with languages but excelled in tactics. His human way of thinking often surprised the instructors, who were used to teaching alien species with more predictable thought patterns. Zorax had not forgotten about Jack, the Draxian watched. The human with growing anger each time Jack received praise in tactical classes. Draxians valued physical strength above all else, and Zorax could not understand how a physically weaker species could outthink him. The bullying began with small things. Zorax would bump into Jack in the hallways, knocking him aside with his larger frame. "Sorry, didn't see you there, soft skin," he would say with a cruel smile. In the mess hall, Zorax would make loud comments about human weakness where Jack could hear. "Did you know humans can't even survive a simple radiation dose that baby Draxians play in?" Zorax announced to his friends one day. "And they break so easily. One punch would shatter their bones." Jack ignored the comments and focused on his studies. His friends Kip and Ilara advised him to stay away from Zorax. "He's looking for a reason to hurt you," Ilara warned during a study session in the library. "Don't give him one." "I won't," Jack promised. "I'm not here to fight. I'm here to learn." But Zorax made avoiding him impossible. When Jack scored highest in a tactical simulation test, beating even the senior cadets, Zorax decided to take more direct action. That night, someone broke into Jack's personal storage locker and damaged his equipment. His uniform was torn, his data pad cracked, and his books soaked with some foul-smelling liquid. There was no proof it was Zorax, but everyone knew. "You should report this," Kip said, helping Jack clean up the mess. Jack shook his head. "No, that's what he wants. To make me look weak, like I need protection." Instead, Jack fixed what he could and replaced what he couldn't. He showed up to class the next day as if nothing had happened. This seemed to anger Zorax even more. The Academy announced a wilderness survival exercise on the moon of Kelter. Cadets would be placed in teams and dropped in different locations with minimal supplies. Each team had to reach an extraction point within 3 days, navigating the harsh terrain and surviving the dangerous wildlife. Jack was assigned to a team with Ilara, Kip, and 2 other cadets named Dorn and Vixa. Zorax was placed in a different team, much to Jack's relief. The night before the exercise, Commander Lava Reeves, the human liaison officer at the Academy, called Jack to her office. "How are you adjusting, Cadet Riley?" she asked. "Fine, Commander," Jack replied. "No problems." Commander Reeves raised an eyebrow. "I've heard about your issues with Cadet Zorax. Do you need me to intervene?" "No, ma'am," Jack said firmly. "I can handle it. If humans want respect in the galaxy, we need to stand on our own." She studied him for a moment. "Very well. But be careful during tomorrow's exercise. The moon of Kelter is dangerous, even without bullies to worry about." The next morning, the teams gathered in the shuttle bay. Each cadet received a small pack with basic supplies, a water purifier, emergency rations, a basic medkit, and a navigation device. The navigation device would show their position and the location of the extraction point, but not the terrain in between. Jack noticed Zorax watching his team with a strange smile. Something didn't feel right, but he had no time to worry about it. The teams boarded separate shuttles and launched toward the moon. Kelter was a harsh place with rocky mountains, deep ravines, and strange forests of blue crystal-like plants. Jack's team was dropped in a valley surrounded by steep cliffs. As soon as the shuttle left, they checked their supplies and planned their route. "The extraction point is 20 miles north," Ilara said, looking at the navigation device. "We should reach it in 2 days if we maintain a good pace." They set off, climbing out of the valley and heading north. The first day went well. They covered good ground and found a safe place to camp for the night. The second day is when things went wrong. "The navigation device is malfunctioning," Ilara announced, tapping the screen with frustration. "It keeps showing us in different locations." Jack examined the device. "Someone tampered with it. Look, these wires have been cut and reconnected incorrectly." Kip groaned. "Zorax. He must have gotten to our equipment before we left." Worse news followed when Dorn tried to purify water from a stream they found. "The purifier is damaged too," he reported. "It won't work." The team looked at each other with concern. Without clean water and accurate navigation, their chances of reaching the extraction point were slim. Many cadets had failed this exercise before, and failure meant a serious mark against their academy record. "What do we do now?" Vixa asked, her leaf-like skin wilting slightly from stress. Jack thought for a moment, remembering his survival training back on Earth. "I can fix this," he said with confidence. "Ilara, do you still have that small toolkit in your pack?" She nodded and handed it to him. Jack opened the navigation device and studied the wiring. "I can't fix it completely, but I can make it stop giving false readings. We'll have to navigate the old way." "The old way?" Dorn asked. "Using the stars," Jack explained. "Humans navigated by stars for thousands of years before we had technology." While Jack worked on the device, he showed Kip how to build a solar still, using parts from the broken water purifier and some clear plastic from their emergency kits. "This will give us clean water, not a lot, but enough." By nightfall, Jack had partially repaired the navigation device. It couldn't show their exact location anymore, but it still showed the extraction point, using the stars of Kelter's night. sky and some basic landmarks, Jack plotted a new route. This valley should lead us directly to the extraction point, he explained to his team. It's longer than our original path, but safer, and we can't get lost as long as we stay in the valley. The next morning, they set off again. The day was hard, with rough terrain and strange animals that watched them from a distance. But Jack's navigation worked, and the solar still provided enough water. They reached the extraction point just before sunset on the third day, the first team to arrive. The academy instructors waiting there looked surprised to see them. How? Did you navigate with damaged equipment? One instructor asked after checking their gear. We adapted, Jack answered simply. Humans are good at that. 2 hours later, other teams began arriving. Zorax's team was among the last, looking tired and angry. When Zorax saw Jack's team, his yellow eyes narrowed with hate. This isn't over, human, he hissed as he passed. Not even close. Jack knew. Zorax was right. The real confrontation was still to come. News of Jack's team's success in the wilderness exercise spread quickly through the academy. Many cadets were impressed by how the human had overcome the sabotaged equipment. Some even began to look at Jack with newfound respect. This only made Zorax angrier. 3 days after returning from Kelter, Jack entered the main dining hall for breakfast. The large room was filled with cadets from all years and species. Jack got his food and looked for a place to sit. Kip waved from a table near the back, and Jack started walking toward him. Suddenly, Zorax stepped directly into Jack's path. The Draxian towered over him, his scaled skin gleaming under the lights. 2 other Draxians stood behind him, arms crossed, and yellow eyes fixed on Jack. I hear you think you're clever, human, Zorax said loudly. The hall grew quiet as other cadets turned to watch. Getting lucky in the wilderness doesn't make you special, Jack tried to step around him. Excuse me. I'm just trying to eat breakfast. Zorax moved to block him again. When a superior speaks to you, you stay and listen. He knocked Jack's tray from his hands, sending food scattering across the floor. Jack kept his face calm, though his heart beat faster. Showing fear to a Draxian was like showing blood to a shark. There are no superiors here, Zorax. We're all cadets. Zorax's scales darkened with anger. You need to learn your place in the galaxy, soft skin. Humans are the newest, weakest species in the Confederation. You're only here because the Academy needed some diversity. Other cadets had gathered around now, forming a circle. Jack saw Ilara and Kip trying to push through the crowd to reach him. He also noticed several instructors at the far end of the hall, watching but not interfering. The Academy often allowed cadets to settle their own disputes. I earned my place. Here, just like you, Jack said calmly. Now, if you'll excuse me. When Jack tried to move past again, Zorax placed a heavy hand on his chest and pushed him back. I don't think so. It's time we settled this. I challenge you to an honor duel. Murmur ran through the crowd. Honor duels were an old Academy tradition, though officially discouraged. Any cadet could challenge another to a formal, supervised contest to settle disputes. The challenged cadet could choose to accept or refuse, but refusing meant social disgrace. You don't want to do this, Zorax, Jack said quietly. The Draxian laughed. Scared, human? You should be. I'm giving you a chance to prove yourself or admit what everyone already knows, that humans don't belong here. Jack looked around at the watching faces. This wasn't just about him anymore. He represented Earth and all humans at the Academy. If he backed down, it would reflect on his entire species. I accept your challenge, Jack said clearly. Zorax grinned, showing sharp teeth. Excellent. As challenger, I choose hand-to-hand combat. Tomorrow, in the training arena, midday. Hand-to-hand combat was exactly what Jack expected. Draxians were naturally stronger and had tough scales for protection. In a physical fight, Zorax had every advantage. I'll be there, Jack replied. The crowd broke into excited chatter as Zorax walked away. Several cadets approached Jack, some offering sympathy, others congratulating him on his courage. A few just shook their heads as if Jack had signed his own death warrant. Ilara and Kip finally reached him. Are you crazy? Ilara hissed. Zorax is twice your size and 3 times your strength. I didn't have a choice, Jack said, kneeling to clean up his spilled food. You always have a choice, Kip argued, helping him. You could have refused and proved that humans are weak? That we back down from a fight? Jack shook his head. I can't do that. News of the challenge spread throughout the academy. By afternoon, almost everyone knew about it. Cadets were placing bets on how long Jack would last against Zorax. Most gave him less than a minute. During tactical class, even the instructor seemed distracted. Cadet Riley, stay after class, he said as the lesson ended when the other cadets had left. The instructor, a veteran Tellarite named Gron, fixed Jack with a serious look. I heard about the challenge. Are you prepared? As much as I can be, sir, Gron nodded slowly. Zorax has challenged 3 other cadets since he arrived. All ended up in the medical bay. He fights to hurt, not just to win. I know, sir. Then you should also know that Academy rules allow a challenged cadet to select a second someone to advise them before the duel. Gron gave Jack a meaningful look. I was a combat instructor for 20 years before teaching tactics. Jack was surprised by the offer. Thank you, sir. I would be honored. That evening, Jack met with Gron in a small training room. The Tellarite watched as Jack demonstrated his fighting skills, which were basic at best. You have good form, but Zorax will overpower you easily, Gron said. You need a different approach. I am open to suggestions, sir. Gron walked to a computer terminal and pulled up a file. This is Draxian anatomy. Their species joined the Confederation 60 years ago, so we have detailed biological information. Jack studied the diagrams on the screen. They're incredibly strong. Yes, but not invulnerable. Gron highlighted several areas on the diagram. Draxians have nerve clusters here, here, and here. Their scales provide excellent protection against blunt force, but precise strikes to these locations can temporarily disrupt their nervous system. Jack looked closer. Like pressure points in human martial arts? Similar, yes. Most cadets don't know about these weaknesses because they're not obvious. Draxians keep this information quiet. Gron gave Jack a stern look. I'm not telling you how to win unfairly. I'm telling you how to survive. Use this knowledge defensively. Jack spent the next few hours practicing precise strikes to specific points on a training dummy. His human fingers were actually better suited for these attacks than the thicker digits of many alien species. Late that night, Jack returned to his quarters. Kip was waiting for him. Ilara found something you should see, the 4-armed alien said, handing Jack a datapad. On the screen was a medical report about Draxian metabolism. What am I looking at? Jack asked. Draxians burn energy very quickly, Kip explained. Their strength and healing abilities require huge amounts of energy. If a fight lasts too long, they start to weaken dramatically. Jack nodded slowly as understanding dawned. So if I can just avoid getting hurt for long enough. Exactly, Kip said. No one has ever lasted that long against Zorax, but if you could. Double quotes. Jack didn't sleep much that night. He lay awake, thinking about the challenge ahead. He wasn't just fighting for himself, but for all humans at the Academy. He had to prove that humans belonged among the stars, not what they lacked. In natural advantages they made up for in other ways. Morning came too quickly. Jack ate a light breakfast and tried to calm his nerves. At midday, he walked to the training arena. A large crowd had gathered, with cadets filling every available space. At the center of the arena stood Zorax, looking confident and dangerous. Commander. Reeves approached Jack before he entered the arena. It's not too late to back out, Cadet Riley. I can intervene officially. Jack shook his head. With respect, Commander, that would only convince everyone that humans need special protection. I need to do this. She studied him for a moment, then nodded. Very well. Good luck. Jack stepped into the arena, and the crowd grew quiet. The moment of truth had arrived. The training arena was filled with cadets from every year and species. They packed the seats that surrounded the circular fighting area, their voices creating a constant buzz of excitement. At the edge of the arena, several Academy instructors stood watching with serious faces. Among them was Instructor Dren, a retired Kelvin warrior who taught advanced combat. He would serve as referee. Jack and Zorax stood at opposite sides of the fighting circle. Jack wore the standard academy training uniform, light, flexible material that offered minimal protection. Zorax wore similar clothes, but his natural scales already gave him armor that Jack lacked. Instructor Dren stepped into the center. This is an official honor challenge between Cadet Zorax of Draxia and Cadet Riley of Earth, he announced in a deep voice that silenced the crowd. The rules are simple: no weapons, no outside help. The match ends with a submission when a cadet is unable to continue, or at my discretion if I determine a cadet is in serious danger. Dren looked at both cadets. Do you understand these rules? I understand, Jack said. Yes, Zorax replied with a confident smile, then approached the center. Jack walked forward, feeling the eyes of hundreds of cadets on him. He saw Ilara and Kip in the front row, their faces worried. Several rows back, Commander Reeves watched with a neutral expression. Jack took a deep breath, remembering his training and the plan he had formed. Zorax looked even bigger up close. His muscles rippled beneath his scales as he moved, and his yellow eyes gleamed with anticipation. He clearly expected an easy victory. Begin, Dren called, stepping back quickly. Zorax didn't waste any time. He charged forward with surprising speed for his size, aiming to end the fight immediately with overwhelming force. Jack had expected this. Instead of trying to block or meet the charge head-on, he stepped to the side at the last moment, letting Zorax's momentum carry him past. The crowd gasped. Zorax stumbled slightly but recovered quickly, turning to face Jack with narrowed eyes. Lucky dodge, Zorax growled. It won't happen again. He attacked once more, this time more carefully. Jack avoided the first few strikes but couldn't dodge. Forever in the limited space. Zorax landed a heavy blow to Jack's shoulder that sent pain shooting down his arm. Jack stumbled back, wincing. The Draxian pressed his advantage, landing several more hits. Each blow felt like being hit with a hammer. Jack blocked what he could and rolled with the punches that got through, using techniques designed to minimize damage rather than prevent it entirely. The crowd watched in surprise as the minutes passed and Jack remained standing. Most had expected him to be knocked out quickly. Though clearly hurting, the human refused to stay down. Why won't you just quit? Zorax asked during a brief pause, his breathing heavier than before. Not how humans work, Jack replied, his voice strained but determined. Zorax attacked again, but Jack noticed something: the Draxian was slowing down. His movements weren't as quick, his strikes not as powerful. The information Kip had shared was proving true. Draxians burned energy quickly, and Zorax had been fighting at full power from the start. Jack continued his defensive strategy, taking hits when necessary but avoiding the worst of Zorax's attacks. He was bruised and sore, but still functional. Meanwhile, Zorax was visibly tiring, his frustration growing as the human refused to be defeated. 10 minutes into the fight, far longer than anyone had expected it to last, Jack saw his opportunity. Zorax overextended on a punch, leaving himself briefly off balance. Jack moved in quickly, striking precisely at one of the nerve clusters Instructor Gran had shown him. Point just below the jaw where scales were thinner. Zorax's eyes widened in shock as his left arm suddenly went numb. What did you do? He gasped. Jack didn't reply. He moved again, striking another pressure point near Zorax's shoulder. The Draxian's right leg buckled. For the first time, fear showed in his yellow eyes. The crowd had gone completely silent, watching in disbelief as the tide of the fight turned. Even the instructors looked surprised. How? Zorax demanded, struggling to keep his balance as more of his body stopped responding to his commands. How do you know these points? I studied, Jack replied simply. While you were telling everyone how superior you were, I was learning about Draxian physiology. Humans don't have scales or super strength or rapid healing. We survive by understanding our opponents and adapting. Zorax lunged forward in desperation, trying to grapple Jack with his remaining functioning arm. Jack sidestepped and struck one final pressure point at the base of Zorax's neck. The Draxian froze, then collapsed to his knees. He was still conscious, but most of his body was temporarily paralyzed. Jack stood over him, breathing hard but still on his feet. The arena was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Instructor Dren stepped forward, his face showing both surprise and respect. Cadet Zorax is unable to continue. Victory goes to Cadet Riley of Earth. For a moment no one moved or spoke. Then the arena erupted in cheers and shouts. Cadets who had bet against Jack groaned while others celebrated their unexpected winnings. But money wasn't the main topic of conversation. It was the shocking defeat of the Academy's most feared bully by the supposedly weak human. Jack knelt beside Zorax. "The paralysis is temporary," he said quietly. "Your feeling will return in about 10 minutes. Zorax glared at him, unable to move but still defiant. "You cheated," he hissed. Jack shook his head. "No, I just used knowledge instead of brute force. There's a difference." He stood and offered his hand to help Zorax up when the feeling began returning to the Draxian's limbs. After a moment of hesitation, Zorax took it, allowing Jack to help him stand. The gesture wasn't lost on the watching cadets. "The Academy teaches that knowledge is as important as strength," Jack said, loud enough for nearby cadets to hear. "No species has a monopoly on either." As he walked out of the arena, cadets parted to let him pass. Some nodded respectfully. Others looked at him with new interest. Jack saw Commander Reeves smiling slightly, clearly pleased with the outcome. Alara and Kip rushed to meet him. "That was amazing," Kip exclaimed, all four arms gesturing excitedly. "You need to go to the medical bay," Alara said. Looking at the bruises forming on Jack's face and arms, Jack nodded, suddenly feeling every hit he had taken. "Good idea." As they walked, Jack noticed something had changed. Cadets who had previously ignored him now acknowledged him with nods or greetings. He had proven something important today, not just about himself, but about humans in general. In the medical bay, the doctor, a blue-skinned Andorian, treated Jack's injuries with a tissue regenerator. "Impressive fight," she commented. "Not many can stand against a Draxian, let alone win." "Humans are tougher than we look," Jack replied with a small smile. "So it seems," the doctor agreed. "The Academy will be watching your species with more interest now." Jack knew the fight had changed things, but he didn't realize just how much until later that evening. 2 weeks passed since the fight between Jack and Zorax. Life at the Academy had changed in many ways. Cadets who once ignored Jack now greeted him in the hallways. Instructors called on him more often in class, interested in the human perspective. Even the Academy leadership seemed to take more notice of him. Jack tried to maintain his normal routine despite his new fame. He still studied hard, trained daily, and spent time with Alara and Kip. The bruises from the fight had faded thanks to the advanced medical treatment, though he still felt sore some mornings. Zorax had avoided Jack since the duel. The Draxian kept to himself, no longer strutting around the Academy as if he owned it. Other cadets who had been bullied by Zorax in the past now stood up for themselves. Inspired by Jack's example. One morning, Jack entered the tactical simulation lab for his favorite class. The room was filled with holographic displays and control panels where cadets could practice space battle strategies. Instructor Gron nodded to Jack as he entered. "Today we begin team exercises," Gron announced. "You will be divided into groups of 5. Each team will develop and execute battle plans against other teams in simulated combat." Gron began reading off team assignments. Jack listened for his name. Team 7, Cadet Riley, Cadet Alara, Cadet Kip, Cadet Vixa, and... Gron paused slightly. Cadet Zorax. Jack looked up in surprise. Zorax, who sat at the back of the room, seemed equally shocked. Whispers spread through the class. Everyone knew about the fight and the bad blood between the human and the Draxian. After class, Jack approached Instructor Gron. "Sir, about the team assignments... Is there a problem, Cadet Riley?" Gron asked, though his expression suggested he knew exactly what Jack was concerned about. "I'm just wondering why you paired me with Zorax." Gron switched off his display panel before answering. "The Academy isn't just about individual skills, Cadet, in real space operations. You'll work with many different species, including those you may not personally like. Learning to cooperate despite differences is an essential skill. Jack nodded. Slowly, I understand, sir. Besides, Gron added with a small smile, I'm curious to see what happens when Draxian strength combines with human creativity. The combination could be ... interesting. The first team meeting was awkward. Jack, Ilara, Kip, and Vixa gathered around a table in the study center. Zorax arrived last, his yellow eyes avoiding Jack's as he took a seat. Let's start planning our strategy for the simulation, Jack suggested, breaking the uncomfortable silence. They spent the next hour discussing possible approaches. Everyone contributed ideas except Zorax, who sat silently with his arms crossed. Finally, Jack turned to him directly. What do you think, Zorax? You have more combat experience than any of us. The Draxian looked surprised at being addressed. Why do you care what I think? You made it clear you don't need my help. That's not true, Jack replied calmly. We're a team now. Each of us has different strengths. We need everyone's input to succeed. Zorax studied Jack for a moment as if trying to detect a trick. Finding none, he leaned forward. Your flanking strategy is logical, but leaves your center too exposed. A better approach would be... To everyone's surprise, Zorax revealed himself to be knowledgeable about Draxian battle tactics. Soon, he was fully engaged in the planning, arguing points with Ilara and suggesting modifications to Jack's ideas. By the end of the meeting, they had developed a solid strategy that combined Jack's unconventional thinking with Zorax's combat experience. The team left feeling cautiously optimistic about their chances in the upcoming simulation. The day of the simulation arrived. 16 teams would compete in a tournament-style competition. Each team operated a simulated spacecraft, engaging in tactical battles against other teams. The goal was to disable the opponent's ship without destroying it. Just as in real space operations where capturing vessels was often more valuable than destroying them, Seven's first match was against a team led by a senior cadet named Brex, known for aggressive tactics. As they took their positions at the control stations, Jack glanced at Zorax. Ready? He asked. Zorax nodded. Let's show them what we can do. The simulation began. Their ship appeared in a virtual asteroid field, with the enemy vessel approaching from the opposite side. Jack, as team leader, gave quick orders that everyone followed precisely. Ilara managed the ship's energy systems, Kip handled sensors, Vixa controlled shields, and Zorax operated weapons. They executed their planned strategy perfectly. While Brex's team focused on a direct assault, Jack had Zorax fire precisely calibrated. Shots that didn't damage the enemy ship but disrupted its sensor array. Meanwhile, Ilara redirected power in a way that made their ship appear damaged and vulnerable. They're taking the bait, Kip reported as the enemy ship moved in for what they thought would be an easy victory. Now, Jack ordered. Zorax fired again, this time targeting the enemy's engines with surgical precision. At the same moment, Vixa dropped their shields and Ilara diverted all power to engines. Their ship shot forward at surprising speed, circling behind the enemy vessel before they could react. With the enemy engines disabled and their ship in the perfect position, victory was assured. Simulation complete. Team 7 victorious, announced the computer voice. The team celebrated their first win. Even Zorax seemed pleased, though he tried to hide it. They went on to win their next 2 matches using similar tactics, combining Jack's unexpected strategies with Zorax's precise combat skills. In the final round, they faced the top-ranked team in the academy, led by a brilliant Vulcan cadet. The match was intense and close, with both teams demonstrating exceptional skill. In the end, Team 7 emerged victorious, becoming academy champions. As they left the simulation lab, Zorax fell into step beside Jack. For a moment, neither spoke. You fight differently than I expected, Zorax finally said. Not just in the arena, but in tactics too. Humans approach problems ... unusually. Is that a compliment? Jack asked with a small smile. An observation, Zorax replied, but without his former hostility. Your species lacks many advantages, yet you find ways to succeed anyway. It's impressive. Coming from a Draxian, this was high praise indeed. Jack nodded in acknowledgement. Different species, different strengths. We all have something to contribute. After that day, things changed between them. They weren't exactly friends, but the hatred was gone. They continued to work together in tactical classes, each learning from the other's approach. 1 month later, Commander Reeves called Jack to her office. "Congratulations on your recent successes, Cadet Riley," she said. "You've made quite an impression." "Thank you, Commander. The Academy has decided to accept more human cadets next term," she continued. "Your performance has convinced the leadership that humans have unique qualities to offer the Galactic Defense Force." Jack felt a surge of pride. This was exactly what he had hoped for, to prove that humans belonged among the stars. "There's something else," Commander Reeves added. "We're forming a special mixed species training group to develop new tactical approaches. Both you and Cadet Zorax have been recommended." "We'll do our best, Commander," Jack promised Dot as he left her office. Jack reflected on how much had changed since his arrival. He had come to the Academy hoping to prove himself, but he had accomplished something far greater. He had helped open doors for all humans who would follow Dot in the corridor. He passed Zorax, who gave him a respectful nod. Jack returned the gesture, thinking how unexpected life could be. His greatest challenge had become a valuable ally, and what had started as a personal conflict had helped secure humanity's place among the stars.